Hello everybody. This is our second expedition of the Wet Monkeys. This one was pretty much a complete failure, but we got some alright footage of no fish, but you can see what happens. This will just be a rough narration of what happened. Hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so for this thing, we basically tried to go for North Curlie in Sydney. And with this video, I actually have my new GoPro mask, so you should be able to see everything I see, just as it is. Now, you can see here the waves are quite rough, like just as we're getting in. They're not too bad, like we can swim through them, but they actually get a lot worse. So at this point, I decided to let go of my float because I thought I had gone out enough, but I actually hadn't. Now, you can also see here just how quick the current is in between the waves, which became a really big issue for us. Now, here, my float line is now tangled on a rock. And this is going to be a huge problem for me in the future. Now, if you have a look, when the camera does go underwater, the visibility is like, you can't really see much, because of all the bubbles in the water, but we could actually see the bottom when it was clear, like from outside of the water. Now, you heard before I kind of made a little noise, might have said a bad word, but I'm struggling quite a bit to get this untangled, so I decided to go and swim towards it. But even more wave just kept hammering onto me and it was slamming me all around. And in between the waves there was this really bad current. And pretty much the second we got in the water, the waves just were like terrible. They pretty much doubled or tripled in size from what we saw before we got in the water. Here, you can see my float line is sort of tangling around me a bit, which is another huge problem for me. And I'm trying to swim towards my float to go and get it, but the waves just keep pulling me back and then pushing me away from it. Now you can see here the waves are getting quite bigger, and you can see the one that comes just after this, I'll get slammed into the rocks.
What? You lost your fin?
Now here, Rob says he lost his fin. He did lose his fin. Oh, and there's that wave I was talking about just earlier. That was a really bad one. So Rob lost his fin and we couldn't retrieve it. Up to this point, the waves were really bad and just kept pushing me all the way around. I made it to my float, except I couldn't see where it was tangled. You can sort of see my float line in the video there. But then, as you can see, more and more waves just kept hitting us, and it made it really difficult. And you can hear some voiceover from me there. Yeah. The waves just were terrible, like we couldn't do anything. This is like, from the second I got into the water to the second we got out, this footage here, it's just terrible. I'm screaming there, as you can tell. At this point as well, I'm pretty sure, I don't really remember, but I think I remember my float line being tangled around me, which made it really difficult to swim. This wave was the bad one. It knocked me onto a rock, and then I sort of like flipped around and tumbled over it. And here, my snorkel gets knocked out of my mouth, and I'm kind of freaking out a little bit, which, you know, kind of makes sense. Oh, and my mask was knocked off of my face from that one wave. So I was stuck on top of a rock right here. You can't see any of the footage. Like I said, my mask was knocked off my face. One of my flippers came off, but I grabbed onto it, so it didn't go away. You can sort of hear me breathing, I think, quite heavily. And then more and more waves just kept pelting us again, like I said. I made it to a rock and I just climbed on top of it. I've got one flipper on and my other flipper is in my right hand. Yeah, we're struggling quite a bit to get out. With Rob, he didn't actually have any boots, so he had to swim all the way back to the beach to get out. Because there was no chance of getting in the way we went in, because of how bad the waves were. Right, so I think here is pretty much the end of all the footage we got. Yeah, there's not much to see here. I've muted the audio. So pretty much, I nearly drowned, you could say. My float line was tangled around me, and I kept getting pelted by waves. And my float line was caught on two ends. One was where like closer to the spear gun, and one was closer to the actual float. Yeah, it was really difficult. And as you might have heard before, Rob lost a flipper. So, and we couldn't find it. Now, my snorkel actually came off. It like detached from my mask, which I thought I like. If you think about it, there is like no chance you're gonna find it. But when we were looking for Rob's flipper, I found it in a rock pool. So that's pretty interesting. Now here, I took my mask off, and put it on the thing because I had to go and get my spear gun and my float off the rock. So I just took all my stuff off, my flippers, and put them all on a rock that the waves weren't getting to. And I just went and, I was like sort of hanging off the side of the rock, like trying to untangle my float from the rock. And I managed to do it eventually, but it was like quite difficult. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was sort of a failure. Hopefully the next video is going to be a little bit better, and maybe we'll actually get some fish. Thank you guys for watching.